y caballeros, leave it in the ring.
This is WBA Super Middleweight Champion Andre Ward, and you're with Leave It in the Ring Radio.
Hola, soy Sergio Maravilla Martínez, esto es liveinthering.com.
Hola, soy Saúl El Canelo Álvarez y estás en Live the Ring Radio.
I'm Bradley, and you're liveinthering.com.
Este que es Soto Caras, el renuente. Escúcheme por Live in the Ring Radio.
Hey, how's it going, guys? This is Victor Ortiz at liveinthering.com. So take care, guys.
How you doing? You're with Benavidez, and you're right here with Leave It in the Ring Radio.
Ooh, well, welcome everybody. Welcome to another edition of Leave It in the Ring Radio. I'm your host, David Duenez. I'm doing a solo show today. Amilcar is, if you guys have noticed, he's on vacation. He's on honeymoon. So I was waiting for we could do a show together, but he was like, the time that he can get on, the time that I can get on, it was just conflicting. It was just no way, no how that we're going to be able to do it together. So I just figured, you know what, I might as well jump on here and do the show. I already got everything ready, set to go, the fights I want to talk about, the breakdowns, and a lot of other things too as well, right? You know, definitely want to talk about this past weekend fights, and then we want to talk about this upcoming Saturday fights, which you got on Showtime, DAZN, and ESPN, the big one. The big one. What's up, Outlaw? Yeah, dude. Actually, I don't know if you guys can hear the noise in the background. My kids are in the game room. They're playing pool. They got a couple buddies over here and stuff. They got their music blasting, what they call hip hop, which I call trash. So anyways, I just thought I'd come on, chop it up and all that, and talk about some fights that also as well a little after. But you know what I wanted to do first, man? Let's see if I can get this up here. I wanted to check out, I don't know if any of you guys saw the video that was posted by Behind the Gloves. I want to give them credit because they're the ones that went out to go witness Deontay Wilder work the mitts with his trainer, Joe D. So let me put that up there and just give you guys a quick reaction. Get your guys' quick reaction, get my reaction from this. I definitely want to hear what you guys think about this. So really quick, let's check it out, man. Let's see if we're impressed, if we're not impressed, and let's see if there's been any changes. I don't know. Let's see. Well, first off, I got to say this, okay? It's almost like he's envisioning, Tyson Fury being in front of him, the way he's like shuffling his feet and like he's trying to corner his trainer with the hand mitts. So that's the first thing I got off of that immediately, was that his mind is still set, believing that he's going to get Tyson Fury, right? I mean, granted, that's probably how he's always looked, but just by watching the first time, just first glimpse of it, that's the first thing I got off of that, right?
Okay. 30. Shit. Yeah, 3-2, baby.
All right, man. I got to stop that really quick. I mean, look, I don't want to bag on the guy and stuff, but it's just, it's obvious that he still hasn't, got his feet underneath him, and remember this, if you've been following for a long time, since like 2014, or even like 15, I called Deontay Wilder the Bambi of heavyweights because of his legs. He can't get his feet underneath them. And it's just right now, like we're watching this short clip of him working the hand mitts. And guess what? He still has it. He still falls into these punches. So right there immediately, there's no adjustments. There's nothing that went back and looked at and tried to adjust to. They obviously didn't go back and look at tapes of the fight that they had on the rematch with Tyson Fury. They didn't see like, hey, this is what we need to do. This is what we need to fix. They're still kind of caught up in that moment of still being the 30 wins and 30 knockouts Deontay Wilder, thinking that that's all that's going to work. Okay, so let's keep moving on. Let's check it out. Let's watch a little bit more of this here.
Hey, they kicked him out, so we're going to give him a good shot. Right here, right in the camera, right here. Right here, over the shoulder. Right here, over the shoulder.
See, he holds his balance there. So I don't know how much of it's like, being like theater, or, acting, overacting. But I just find it hard to believe that he is overacting, because we've seen him do that before. We've seen him like fall into punches. When he knocked out Stavern, Berman Stavern, he fell right into those ropes. When he knocked out Brazil, same thing. He fell into the ropes and stuff, I've seen him a lot of times that when he gets wild, his legs, they kick from underneath him, and he's like trying to struggle with gravity and everything. And here you can see that with JD, that he's, kind of struggling there, but then he gets his feet underneath them. So there are times where he can, keep his balance and his base really, really good and stuff, But again, like, it's only a very short clip, so there's not a whole lot you can kind of read off of. But there's really nothing there that tells me there's been anything added or corrected with him. They're still banking off to that right hand every time out. Nothing's being set up. They're not working on the jab. What I'm seeing right now, this could be completely just, hey, for show, and they did it for show. But what we're seeing right now, it's just basically I'm not seeing any improvement at all. Same old Wilder, exactly. That's a pretty good little sidestep that he's doing there. I do like that, So right there should be jabbing. There you go. Use that jab. Again, they're just looking for that right hand, and nothing's like setting him up. He doesn't set anything up, and that's my whole issue with him. He never sets anything up. JD doesn't look like he's trying to make him set anything up. You had your hand mid up. You shouldn't work on the jab. He's got the length. We know he's got the power, and he's got the speed and the athleticism there. We saw him do that side step, where he jumped to the side, he pivoted to the side, throw a body shot, and then came over the top with his right hand. We know he could do stuff like that. So it's not like he doesn't have footwork or he can't use it. It just seems like they want to focus what has been the punch that's gotten them to where they're at, which is great, but you got to start adding on, because now, like Tyson Fury, figured out the puzzle, which wasn't hard to figure out, right? So that little glimpse there, I'm glad, though, he's back in the gym. I'm definitely glad that he's back in there and he's working on stuff, and it looks like he's got his bearings back, and he's ready to go, and the confidence is there. All that you could read. He's got this confidence there. He still believes in that right hand. He still believes in that power, But I do want to see a little bit more from him. I want to see him work the jab. I definitely would like to see them start working on, some type of strategy, some type of way of setting up his right hand, the overhand right that he likes to throw. But I made a comment about this on Twitter when I saw the video. I was like, this is the perfect example of a guy walking into a gym for the very first time and is walking by some fighters working on the bag, and then they look at the guy and they go, "Hey, can you hold the hand mitts for me while I hit him?" And the guy's like looking around like, yeah, I could do that. And voila, he becomes a trainer for fighters. That's the vibe that I got, and that's what I threw out there, But let's see what happens. We got to definitely see him get back into the ring, and then we can go off of there. Like I said, it's a really short clip. of what we saw, but I wouldn't. Yeah, I wouldn't put my money that he's changed that all there. Just like what Outlaw said, you know. What's up, Ron? How you doing, brother? Is Chicano in here? Yeah, Chicano's in here. That's right, man. What's going on, brother? Thanks for joining us. Thanks for joining me. There's no us. There's only me right now here on Leave It in the Ring. Okay, man. So let's break down this past weekend fights here. You know, let's talk a little bit about Gabriel. I mean, not Gabriel Flores. He's fighting this upcoming week. Adam Lopez and Jason Sanchez. I went a little blank there for a moment though. But Adam Lopez, Blue Nose versus Jason Sanchez, which was on ESPN, ended up going to the scorecards, which I pretty much kind of foresaw that. I think a lot of us did. These guys weren't big time power punchers or anything like that. They're more volume punchers. I thought Jason Sanchez is the boxer. I know Timothy Bradley was trying to say that it was Adam Lopez, Blue Nose, which he did become the boxer in the second half of the fight. But going into the fight, I didn't see him being the more purest of boxers between the two. I thought it was going to be Sanchez, and it was. I mean, Sanchez came out there, started using his distance, started using his jab, and I thought he was doing a great job, you know. It was up to Adam Lopez to change things around, to make sure that he got himself in the fight, because you know what? He was behind those scorecards. Okay, you know, here's the thing. You can't say that Adam Lopez, Blue Nose, is a one-trick pony. Okay, and now the reason why I'm saying that is because we've seen him in brawls. We saw him against Oscar Valdez. There was a back-and-forth war. We saw him in his last fight. His face was all beat up. This time around, he was getting outboxed, but then he made the adjustment. Okay. And that was a smart, intelligent thing that he had to do. Okay. Now, however you scored it, however you looked at it, I would have been happy with the draw, even though I had Jason Sanchez winning by a point. I thought, and I spoke to other folks too. They were like, I had him by 2 points ahead. You know, I honestly haven't spoken to anybody that had Adam Lopez winning the fight. You know, they thought he did enough in the late rounds, but really lost all those early rounds, okay, in the beginning. And some of those rounds were kind of swing, so it was kind of hard to kind of, you know, pick and stuff. That's why I was like, if it goes to a draw, I'm perfectly happy with it. Adam Lopez got the win. I'm actually okay with that as well. Wouldn't call it a robbery or anything like that, because I thought both men, made some real good cases of who would have won a certain round, okay? But you can't say that Lopez won those early rounds. He really didn't, okay? But this is my issue with Adam Blue Nose Lopez as he moves on and forward and facing, bigger and better oppositions out there in the game, okay? For one is that, man, I know I'm going to get a lot of hate mail for saying this, so forgive me, but I got to be honest. That's part of me doing my job here on Leave the Rings. I got to be honest with you guys of what I see and what I'm thinking, okay? And it's just solely my opinion here. I got nothing against Buddy McGirt. I love Buddy McGirt. I think he's a great character, Hall of Famer, awesome guy. But I think Adam Lopez needs to move on. I think he needs to grow. And the reason I'm saying this is that I've spoken to Buddy McGirt numerous times, okay? And the one last conversation we had is when he had Kovila to get in, training Kovila to get ready for Canelo Alvarez. And I asked him, how much tape do you watch on your guys' opponent? And he has said, none. I don't watch any tape. I never watch any tape on any fighters, and if you do, you shouldn't be a trainer. I was kind of thrown back, guys. I was like, what? Like, I mean, I remember Emmanuel Stewart would say he would study fights for hours and hours. Eddie Reynoso and them, you could see they study tape on their opponents hours and hours so they can have a really good game plan. So the reason I'm saying this is that if you watch that fight, the reason why this kid didn't make an early adjustment is because he went in there blind. He didn't know what he was going up against when he was facing Jason Sanchez. So that it took him about 6 or 7 rounds to adjust, to finally shake off whatever game plan he had in his head from the first round, which was put pressure and come forward and let his hands go. He had to shake that off. He had to reset himself, okay? And you imagine if they would have watched tape on Sanchez, you imagine if they would have studied Sanchez's style and kind of understood what they were going to be up against, that Adam Lopez wouldn't have to try to adjust on the fly. Like, you don't do those things unless you're in sparring mode. You know, that's when you throw about 3 or 4 guys in there with you to get your adrenaline up, to get your, stamina, to make you think on the fly. Whether, guys pressuring you, a guy's heavier than you. It makes you think of what you're going to do with footwork, how to catch your breath in between seconds so you can, reserve yourself. You don't do that on fight night. And while I was watching this, I'm like, Adam Lopez he's a really talented kid. He's got some real serious skills here, but I just don't think that's the greatest idea to have a kid who, first off, needs the ring experience, okay? So he kind of needs all the tools, to be provided to him before fight night. It's not like a veteran guy, like Arturo Gatti, who, or even like Sergey Kovalev, who can make these adjustments because they've been in the fight game for quite some time, okay? So they can adapt to it. Adam Lopez is right now still fresh in his game. He shouldn't have to be overthinking these situations, especially in the spur of the moment. I just thought that was a really bad call, and I thought that this fight was a lot tougher for Adam Lopez than it should have been if he would have had a game plan. And I think moving forward that if he doesn't kind of like take a step back and look at, hey, I think I need to evolve here. I need to grow and get another trainer. Like I said, it's nothing against Buddy McGirt. I think Buddy McGirt's a good trainer. But I think that when there's levels to this game, there's also levels to trainers. And to me, he's not an A-side trainer, unfortunately. Throw a book at me. I don't care. I mean, I'm just stating what I obviously have seen for years through Buddy McGirt. Hey, Rod, what's going on, brother? War Valdez, yep. So, yeah, let me know your feedback, what you guys think about that, and I obviously, happy for the kid. Didn't think he got the win. I thought Sanchez did enough. I thought he beat him by a round to deserve the fight, to get the fight, not deserve, to earn that fight. Would have been happy with a draw, but, Adam Lopez got it. So now it's up to him. Whatever they're going to do, move forward. I think this time, though, whoever they're going to step in next time, they need a game plan. Adjusting on the fly, it's not going to work every time. And this fight with Sanchez almost, slipped through his fingers, through his gloves. So that should be a hard lesson right there. That should be where himself and his team go, we need to make a change here. If we're going to continue this uphill to get a title or fight the best fighters available out there, we need to be better prepared. And if Buddy McGirt's not doing that for them, where he's just, now giving you instructions of what he's seeing and thinking that you can adjust to that when you didn't work on that, that's hard to do, man. It really, really, really is, right? I want to go into Josh Warrington and Mauricio Lara, El Bronco. He went out to the UK. There was no title on the line. I talked about this on Monday. Lara was coming down in weight. We knew Lara had power. He had KO power. We just didn't know that if it was going to translate to the elite level yet. Warrington. Exactly. I agree with you, Ron. Yeah. Every coach has their style philosophy, but if you imagine the MLB, NBA, NFL coaching staffs and players not watching film, no, absolutely not. Absolutely not. And that's why I was kind of thrown back by that. I was just like, what? Like, you don't? I mean, everybody should. Everybody. Even like fight tapes of yourself. You should go back and critique it because it's going to matter. It's going to matter a whole lot for you and stuff, So let's go on from there, man. Cherry pick gone wrong. Yeah, there with the Warrington. That's a great point, because Warrington did pick him not out of a phone book, but did pick, Lara to get in there with him. Like I said, there was no title. Now, that first round, I got to admit to you, I thought we were witnessing the old Warrington. I didn't really see any ring rust. I didn't see anything there that kind of suggested that this was going to be a long night. If anything, the one thing that was outlined from the commentators to anybody that talked about this fight was that this fight with Laura wasn't worthy. Like Laura, wasn't worthy of getting in there with Warrington. That this was just going to be a blowout. This was a stay busy fight. Who is this kid, Laura? Who is this guy? Why is he in here? Why is he getting this opportunity against this undefeated guy that's been in two Fight of the Year candidate fights, right? Who is this kid? And I did state that sometimes cherry picking could go wrong, and a lot of times too, when you get a guy that's undefeated and really the unknown, like you didn't know how tall he was, you really didn't know his weight. There was, very limited fight tape on him, but the tape that there was out there, you did see that this kid had some semi-skills. Now, he's not the most skillful guy in the world. Remember I talked about how he would throw his right hand, but he would leap in the air? He kind of would tell you what he was going to do next. But I also said that he likes to welcome in a firefight. That's something that he's not afraid of, okay? Another thing, he didn't have great head movement. I mentioned that. I said that he does give good body shots, and that this fight could have been a lot. I had said this on Monday that this fight might be a lot better than people were suggesting. And guess what? It went beyond that, right? Warrington goes out there, starts putting hands on him. And again, it was not like it wasn't known. Laura takes, punches in the face. He was going to get hit a lot. And he took them. He ate them and he walked through them. And he started throwing some big shots, started throwing some body shots, started putting back the pressure. Well, Warrington didn't really back up. He was like, okay, you want to, trade leather? Let's do it. He welcomed it too. The thing is that it makes me wonder, did they watch tape on Laura? Did they make the mistake that Adam Lopez and Buddy McGirt did? Did the Warrington make that same mistake and say, you know what, this guy's a nobody. He fights only in Mexico. But he probably didn't even know that he fought 4 times last year. They probably didn't even witness that he likes to throw body shots. They probably didn't even notice that he likes to use his head sometimes. He comes in with his head. So I thought there would be some head clashing, which I think there was, but they overlooked the kid. This was supposed to be an easy night. And if anything, if you watch boxing as long as I watch boxing, there's no such thing as an easy fight for any fighter, There's always a fighter who's either walking into a fight injured, or the fighter's going to get injured, or the fighter gets into a fight that's a lot tougher than he should. We've seen this happen to a lot top 5 guys. They get in there with somebody that they think they're just going to mow right through, and it ends up being a much more tougher fight because mentally they just weren't prepared for them. But I don't think Warrington, I think Warrington was there to fight. We saw what he was doing. He was letting his hands go. But Laura showed up to win. And that's also what makes a dangerous kid that's coming from across the pond who has an undefeated record. When they don't have a defeat on their record, they don't know what that feels like or even tastes like. So they're obviously going to come to try to win. Now, the kid did some great work. Now, I got to tell you this. I thought it was a good stoppage. Warrington was getting hurt a lot. I thought they should have stopped it a little earlier. It was getting touched way too much and stuff. But the thing that turned me off was the commentators, how many excuses they start. After Warrington gets dropped, how many excuses they started coming in, for the narrative of that he wasn't ready, the ring rust, it affected him not fighting this year, blah, 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 blah. It was really, they kind of discredit what Laura was doing, which was he was landing body shots, and what he was doing was punching in between the shots of Warrington, and he was landing those too. The one thing about Laura, he likes to open up really wide, and he was doing that quite a few times, but Warrington was so buzzed and didn't have his feet underneath him that he couldn't even take advantage of it. So I'm hoping, and they're already talking about Warrington saying, hey, I want the rematch. Thank you to all my fans. I want to make this fight happen again. I hope it happens again, because I think they're going to go back and look at that tape and see those mistakes that they did. But I hope that Laura, because there was no title, and if there's a title on the line this time, which you got to admit, this is going to be even a bigger fight, okay? Because of now the storyline. This kid comes from Mexico, goes over there and knocks out the champion, undefeated champion, okay? hopefully they go back. And I think that corner is really underrated of what the instructions they were giving Laura, the motivation talks, what they were telling them. I think that especially because in boxing, when a guy, he didn't get that title, but he did get this big historical win, it might boost him even to a better fighter. And give them time to now, actually have even a better plan with Warrington, because they got to know, they got to understand and know that Warrington is not going to come back with that same game plan. Okay, he's not going to be that inviting. He's not going to want to stand there and try, to match Webbles for Webbles. He's going to try to box, which would be the smart thing, because now we found out that this kid, KOs on his record, on that resume. Now, really, honestly, you could say it's elite power. It's not B-level club fighter power. It's elite power. It could turn the fight around the way it did on that past Saturday on DAZN, man. Great fight. I hope it happens again, the rematch. Let me read some of the comments here. It's a outlaw. UK boxing, beware of a young, hungry Mexican boxers you'd never heard of. Absolutely. Look what happened when Andy Ruiz got in with Anthony Joshua. How many UK people, even not boxing, boxing media guys were like, who is this guy? If you weren't around the Southern California circuit, a lot of folks, passed on by Andy Ruiz. They didn't know about Andy Ruiz. It was us really hardcore fight fans that watched Andy Ruiz, knew they had talent. Laura, I got to admit, I didn't know much about Laura, but I decided to go watch some tape because I was like, Mexican kid getting in there. They handpicked him. That's kind of funny. Is he that bad? Or could it be that good? And I'm glad I went back and found some tape on him, and watched a couple of fights that he had. And I was like, hey, I think this is going to be a lot better than what most are thinking that's going to happen on Saturday night. And I'm glad. I should have picked him, and I didn't. Because my whole thing was that Warrington was going to let his hands go, and maybe the ref was going to jump in and prematurely stop the fight because Laura doesn't have good defense at all. His offense is on point, but his defense is terrible. He has no head movement. He walks into the punches. He eats them like Skittles. And I thought that was going to be a recipe for a stoppage, not by him getting dropped, but just by him accumulating too much punishment from Warrington. But it ended up being the other way around. So it was a great fight. Here, Run says, I think Warrington could have won, but it seems like he got a little complicit from landing good shots, but the size difference in power was the difference down the stretch. I think so, too. I don't think they, like I said, even if you went on BoxRec, Run, like there was nothing about his height. So it was like, they were fighting a TBA, to tell you the truth, on that night. Whatever you could have studied, you really didn't know if there was going to be size. I knew that either the weight would affect him or it was going to help him. Coming down in weight sometimes would affect you, tire you out a bit, or it's gonna help you walk down the littler guy. It also helps you absorb punches a lot better. So either way, sometimes you never know what happens until it's fight night. So let's move on from there, man. We got a lot of great fights happening this week. What other fight? Let's see, what other fight did I just miss right now? What happened on Saturday, man? Because, Saturday was actually really, well, we didn't get the we didn't get the Smith Jr. Fight. That fell apart and stuff. But Colby made a great comeback. Robert Comey, he made a great comeback. I talked about that on the quick take, so I won't get too much into that. But I'm hoping that we see him move forward. Verdejo did say on the social media, "Let's make it happen." He's like, I'm for that one. I want to see that happen. So let's make that fight happen. I hope. I don't see what the problem would be. Would be to stop that fight from happening later on. Late this year or early next year between Richard Comey and Felix Verdejo. Okay, so let's move on forward. Let's get down to the fights, man, that we have this weekend. We got some great fights, you guys already know this, so I don't have to tell you much. So let's go on really quick here on this. You got your ESPN, Miguel Berchelt versus Oscar Valdez. On Showtime, you got Adrian Broner against Giovanni Santiago. Then you got David Avanesian versus Josh Kelly on DAZN as well. Man, there's going to be... And even on the undercards, we got some really, really good fights, man. Outlaw, he did. Comey looked good. He is a player at 135, and there's a lot of fights out there to keep. It's a ring robin with this 135 division. It's just really that all these guys now got to hone down and start fighting each other and mix it up. Mix it up, you know? They all want the shot at Teofimo Lopez. Comey wants that rematch. He wants to redeem himself, So what he's got to do is he's got to fight the fights to get Teofimo Lopez cornered and say, okay, let's make that happen. Hopefully, that's if Teofimo Lopez is still in the division, which we will talk about a little later here on the show after we talk about the weekend picks here on Leaving the Ring and stuff. Okay, so I'm going to go with the first fight on ESPN, which is the co-main event, which is Gabriel Flores out of Stockton, California, which now he lives in Las Vegas. And then he's going to be facing Jason Valdez, which I think is a great test, a big test for the young Gabriel Flores, who's got 19 wins, 6 KOs under his belt. He's not a big puncher, but he is a hell of a boxer. Whereas Jason Valdez is the veteran fighter. You could consider him as a gatekeeper, but he's one hell of a gatekeeper. He's not a guy that's just going to pass you the key under the door. You're going to have to knock down the door in order to get through. Okay, so he's got 29 wins, 7 losses. He's only been stopped once. He got 21 KOs under his record. But if you look at that resume, it is steep, okay? The guys that he's lost to, they have all become champions. Oscar Valdez, Ryan Garcia. The list goes on, okay? So this is a very tall order, in my opinion, for Gabriel Flores Jr. If Gabriel Flores Jr. and his pops didn't do their homework, which I believe they did, I know they're smart enough that they're not going to try to make an adjustment on the fly. They're going to probably have a very solid game plan going out there, which is not try to be the slugger, be the boxer in this fight. Allow Valdez to lead the dance and just counter shot him as much as you can and pivot and move. Give him a bunch of different angles. Let Valdez shoot a lot of air, punch a lot of air, or catch a lot of the gloves from, Gabriel Flores, Gabriel Flores, in my opinion, doesn't want to get in a firefight with Valdez. And he doesn't want to match him with man strength. The one thing about Gabriel Flores that I've said this about him, I think I like what I see from him. He passes the eye test, but he still hasn't peaked that manhood yet. You don't see he's got that man strength yet. He's still got that very, baby face kid. Looks like he just graduated junior high. But you can't deny the fact that he does have a good boxing IQ. He's got great hand speed. He's got good footwork. He knows how to counter punch. He's got a good jab. It's decent. But in my opinion, there's going to have to be a little bit more to that ingredient to keep off Jason Valdez. This kid, Jason Valdez, has seen all the tricks. He's seen all the speed. He's seen all the power. So, Valdez has got a grade A chin. So this is where Gabriel Flores' team has got to come up with something more creative going into this fight. Because if not, there's a strong possibility that Jason Valdez is just going to mow through whatever this kid does and try to maul him up. Try to get in there, throw some short shots, bang him up. Let him know that you have stepped up. This is probably 3 steps up the ladder than you should have been doing right now. I applaud the kid. I think this is a great step up and stuff. But to be honest with you, if I had to make a pick right now, I'm going to have to go with Jason Valdez. I just think he's too far experienced. I know some folks will say, well, there's wear and tear. He's been in a lot of wars. Every time he steps up to be the guy that's a top guy that's leading into the top 10, top 15, he's always at the short end of the stick. Very true. But go back to what I was saying about Gabriel Flores. Still very young. Still doesn't have that man strength. May not be able to keep off a man and Jason Valdez off of him. Okay, could he maneuver him? I think he could, and I think that's going to be the key. It's outmaneuver him. Okay, meaning he's got to have fresh legs. He's got to have strong legs. He can't sit there and risk waiting for the receipt against Jason Valdez. Jason Valdez has got 21 knockouts on the 29 fights he's been in. So he's got some power there. So that he can cause some damage. So this is where Gabriel Flores is pairing shots moving, giving angles, and making sure if there is a punch that's landed from Jason Valdez, it's going to be one of those grazing punch, where he just turns his face with the punch. His job is going to really be to frustrate the older fighter. Frustrate him, make him make mistakes, and make him overcommit, and then you can capitalize. It's the only way I could see Gabriel Flores winning this fight. It's not impossible. It can happen. But I'm leaning a little more with Valdez. I think that he may have it because of the ring experience. We won't know until that night, Saturday night. That's why we watch the fights, right? You see, A-Rod said, Comey doing what everyone else needs to do instead of waiting. Absolutely. Absolutely. You got to love the real fighters out there, the fighters that want to fight. Because they don't have to, they have to fight. They don't have all the pearl clutches right now to say, like, let me sit back. Let me enjoy the view. Where, like, Teofimo Lopez, he's able to sit back and go, look, I don't want to do this deal. Top Rank's got to pay me now. And it's business. Damn, I bet you that was like chalkboard running across the board for Bob Arum to hear another one of his fighters to say, this is business. Nothing personal. You never think the employee will finally step up and say, I don't want to be an employee anymore. I want to be an entrepreneur just like you. I want what you got. Right? And good for him. Good for him, but don't stall it too long. You got to get those fights out there, and hopefully that, when they go back into that negotiation table, that they're able to come up with a good plan for Teofimo Lopez, because guess what? He owns the crown. He's the king of the block, man. So I think he earns every right to go, I don't want to fight for this much anymore. That's not what I want. I know that's what I signed before, but this is what I should go. Why not shop it around? That's where he's going, and it's being smart. It's being smart. It could either work for him or it can bite him in the ass, right? That's all we could say, okay? Before I get into the whole Berchelt and Valdez fight, I want to go on with one of my favorite fighters, Adrian Broner, and I know it's one of your guys' favorite fighters, The Problem, okay, who's going to be fighting this Saturday on Showtime against a very unknown fighter from Puerto Rico, Santiago, who's got 14 wins, 1 draw, and 10 KOs. Now, Broner's got the more, standout resume. He's got 33 wins, 4 losses, 1 draw, 24 knockouts underneath his belt. The last time we saw him fight was with Manny Pacquiao, which he lost in that fight. That was back in 2019. Santiago fought last year only once. Okay, now, guys, this could be another case. What's up, G Funky? Didn't see you're in there, man. Thanks for joining the show, guys. This could be another case again of a guy showing up and not doing what everybody's suggesting he's supposed to be. Like Laura, like Ruiz. Okay? Santiago, I went back and watched tape on him, and I gotta tell you this, he does good body work, he lands heavy shots to the body, he's got a good right hand, he's a come forward pressure guy, and he does something to a lot of the guys that Broner have beat. Santiago does something that they didn't do to Broner, which is let his hands go. Okay? When you look at the guys that Broner was able to get past, because Broner can never get over the hump of beating an A-level guy. He's always, came up short. He doesn't let his hands go enough. He doesn't doesn't move enough. He's too busy thinking in his head about billions rather than thinking about at the moment. But every guy that he's beat before that have also kind of been reserved in their punches. So he's been able to tee off of that and pot shot and throw 1 or 2 punches here every 30 to 45 seconds. Santiago is not that kind of a fighter. Santiago actually likes to close that distance, and he likes to go to the body, and he likes to come right back up to the head with a left hook. Then he throws that right hand. Santiago is actually a physical fighter, okay? Where Broner is a physical fighter himself. You're getting close. Broner doesn't mind putting his weight on you. He'll put that weight on you. Now, talent-wise, you got to go with Broner. And that's what everybody's going to say. Like, well, more talented person is Broner. More limited in what they could do in the ring, Santiago. That's the obvious there. So we can wipe that away. And because that's something we can point out. That's easy to point out. But let's point out about Broner. Okay? The obvious in Broner. One, he's been partying this whole time, okay? This is the guy that's a part-time fighter, part-time rapper, part-time porn star, part-time getting locked up. He's a problem, okay? And as we all know this, a fighter's got to live a certain lifestyle, a warrior's mindset. I'm not saying that Broner's not a warrior, but he doesn't carry that warrior mindset, meaning keeping his body clean, running, keeping his body in fighting shape. The reason why Manny Pacquiao's lasted so long in this game is because he kept himself in fighting shape and he keeps his mind sharp and fresh and ready to go. Adrian Broner has abused his body. Alcohol, drugs, if he's doing that, not staying in shape, fluctuating in his weight, all that eventually has got to catch up, okay? He's still a young cat. I mean, he's in his 30s, but you got to admit, when you look at him, he doesn't look like he's in his 30s. So I'm wondering, here's where I'm thinking, okay? Santiago, who is an undefeated fighter. Now, remember what happened in the UK against Warrington. You had a guy named Lara show up undefeated. When you have a guy that's undefeated, that hasn't tasted defeat, that doesn't know that he's supposed to be the loser in this fight, he can cause problems. Meaning that he's going to show up and he's going to try to win this fight. This kid Santiago knows that beating Broner, it's only going to open up doors for him to get bigger purses, bigger paydays, bigger fights. Okay? Because you would have to admit that if he beats Broner, beats him, it's an upset. We get 2 in a row. And a lot of times, if you watch boxing, it's normally we get our upsets always in the beginning of the year. For some reason, it's always the beginning of the year, okay? So Santiago has to go out there and let his hands go. Don't worry about the shoulder roll, the straight right, which Broner's going to throw. If he's anything we're going to see of Broner or old, you're going to see that straight right. That's the only right that he's always had. It hasn't been diminished. It's always looked good. My question is, even though you could say, well, look how his body looks. He looks good. That's a shell. We don't know how it really is operating the inside, okay? We really don't know how his body's going to handle a guy that's going to throw body shots at him and headshots. A guy that's okay about being physical, We don't know if his body's going to actually break down. We don't know much about Broner right now. All we know about Broner is that the tabloids have been showing us he's still partying up. And now, how many times have you heard this from Adrian Broner? I'm finally taking the fight game serious. How many times? Just way too many times. So eventually, all of this stuff that he's been doing, it catches up. Think about this too, okay? In the history of fighters that have all the talent in the world and they've never taken the fight game to that serious point because either they got a taste of money, they got a taste of power, they got a little taste of the top of the hill, and they went on to this like hiatus of let me just party up, let me live like a king. They sometimes never are able to get it back. And Broner has tried, he has how many attempts of trying to get back what a lot of people thought he was supposed to be? I think there's a strong possibility that Santiago puts that stamp on him and mails his ass right back where he was at before getting back into the gym. So I'll give you my pick. Is there a possibility that Broner's going to go out there and land that right hand on Santiago and probably even rock him here or there and make it a tough fight? I think so. I think you might be right. But I'm going to bet more on picking the fact that his body's not going to respond as well. If he's a one-handed fighter then when he fought Manny Pacquiao, I'm wondering how much of a one-handed fighter he's going to be against Santiago. I'm betting that Santiago's going to show up to want to win this fight, to go out there and do his job, not fear what Broner's going to do, but he's just going to throw a lot of value and punches. I'm going to go with Santiago for the win against Adrian Broner on Showtime Saturday, man. Tell me what you guys think there on the chat room, and tell me if I'm wrong or right here. I did have Amilcar's, but I have to look for right now. So let's see what other fight. Oh man, I really like this fight, guys. Josh Kelly, which is going to be on the zone against David Avanesian. Josh Kelly's got 10 wins, 6 KOs under his belt, 1 draw. David Avanesian, he's got an extensive resume, 26 wins, 3 losses, 1 draw. He's got 14 KOs. I think this is actually a really good step up for Josh Kelly. Josh Kelly, you got to admit, he's got a lot of talent. He's got good hand speed. He's got good movement, but he had that draw with Ray Robinson. I mean, there's something there. We just don't know how much of it is really truth because of the guys that he's been facing, right? With David is kind of a wear and tear. You know what I mean? So Josh Kelly's kind of getting Avanesian at the right time. Because he might show up and he may be like Broner. His body may not be able to respond. He may be 2 punches behind Josh Kelly. Kelly's hand speed may be a little bit too much. His movement may be a little too much, which we know David's going to have to chase him. He's going to have to trap Josh. He's going to really have to trap him down. What's up, Blood? How you doing, brother? Thanks for joining us. So I'm really interested in this fight. I think it could be a really ugly fight for Josh Kelly if his body is responsive, if he can show up and try to cut that ring off. I don't think he's going to cut the ring off. I don't think he's really good at that. But I think all he's going to be able to do is just come forward, try to maul him up, try to make it ugly, because that's the best that he's going to do against this kid, Josh Kelly. Josh Kelly's biggest problem is that he tries to be a little too flashy. Rather than just trying to do his work and just go off of what he can do, which he does have speed, he tries to incorporate all this other stuff into it to make it, give it pleasing to the eye. But that's kind of cost him sometimes, where he stays in that pocket too long and he gets countered. He can't afford that. He can't afford that in this fight. He's going to have to be on point, because like I said, if David's there and his body doesn't betray him, this is going to be a long night for Josh Kelly, okay? And this is a big step up, in my opinion, the way Gabriel Flores Jr. is stepping up to face Valdez. It's a big step up for both guys, so I'm excited about that. I'm going to pick Josh Kelly. I just think that he's got, he's the much fresher kid. I think David's just got a lot of wear and tear in his body. I think Dave is going to be 2 punches behind him, and I think the speed's going to cause a little problems there for him. And I think that if Josh Kelly just stays away from him and doesn't try to mix it up too much and picks his shots, I think it should be, a guaranteed victory at the end of those rounds. Excuse me. Man, is Broner even going to make weight for the fight? I'm hoping. I'm definitely hoping. I mean, he's been in the gym. He's been working his ass off. I mean, what I've seen, Broner has 4 losses, could easily have a 7. Many thought I thought Ponce de Leon did beat him. I did, and I had the pleasure of talking to Ponce de Leon. Definitely thought that Ponce de Leon beat him, man. And so let's get down to the main event, okay, which everybody's pumped up for. Really excited about this. Thank you, COVID, for not stopping this fight from happening. We have 2 Mexicanos, Oscar Valdez versus Miguel Barten, both stepping in. This is going to be a hell of a fight, guys. The only thing that I'm hoping for is that Andre Ward, Timothy Bradley, and whoever else is going to be the third man pitcher allow this fight to speak for itself when they start trading gloves. There doesn't need to be a lot of commentary. There doesn't need to be a lot of storylining or tell us visually what we're watching. These 2 guys are going to show up to try to take each other's head, okay? This is going to be I'm pretty sure we're going to be guaranteed a firefight between 2 Mexicano warriors going in there to, that are fighting off of pride and everything else that makes up a good fight, okay? That's the only thing that I'm worried about, is hearing these guys over talk, you know, and I don't want to turn it down the volume because I want to hear the punches land between the two, okay? Now, Miguel Barten fought last time. Last time we saw him in there was in 2020. Same thing with Oscar Valdez. 2020, they were a month apart from each other. Let's get down to the breakdown, okay? Miguel obviously gets hit a lot. We know that, okay? He's got his limitations, and it hasn't really cost him. It cost him earlier in his career. He had that one blemish, but he's been able to work through that. And the reason why he's been able to work with that because he works to the body really good. He's a hard puncher. He throws in every angle. He knows how to push you back. He keeps his punches pretty short when he's in close with you. Oscar Valdez, hand speed, too. He also, same thing. You know, he does get clipped. He can get dropped. But the way he recoups is pretty good. You know, he can get hurt, but he gets right back up, and he's right back into the game, okay? With this fight here, I think that what really, for Valdez, he's got to keep his hands up high in this fight. He has the tendency of dropping his hands, and he likes to drop them down to where the gloves are like nipple level, and that's where he starts shooting off his punches. I can't see him doing this. Everything's got to come up high for him, okay? And the reason I'm saying that is because when Miguel's going to come forward to collide with him, Miguel, when he does come forward, he doesn't walk in forward. He actually walks in throwing a left hook or throwing a right hook, okay? And that's why he's got to keep it high so he can catch the shots, and he's going to have to, really, Oscar Valdez is going to have to shoot right down that middle. Or else I just see him getting clipped a lot as well. I don't think either one of these guys are going to be, the slickest guys in the world. I don't think any one of these guys are going to do that. You know, Oscar Valdez tends to walk himself back. We saw that with the Mayorga fight. He walks himself back to those ropes. He traps himself. But he's also, when he does do that, he does seem to work his way out of there. But I don't think that's a great idea, going in with Berchelt. If anything, Barchet's going to like that. That's what he's banking for. That's what he's kind of hoping that's what Oscar's going to do is walk himself back, okay? But at the same time, Miguel can't just think that, you know what, I'm going to go walk in there and I'm going to, it's going to be easy for me to walk in and then throw these big punches on him, he's going to walk into something big. So he's got to have a little bit of head movement, and he's got to keep an eye on that. And I saw what Run said. Hey Dave, do you think Valdez has shorter punches and better combos with Manny Robles? I think he does, but I think that, to tell you the truth, Ron, I think that a lot of what he's going to do is going to go out the door. What I'm kind of foreseeing is that Miguel is going to put a lot of pressure on him, and that's going to force Oscar to open up more than what the team is hoping for him to do. This is where it kind of boils down to discipline. Can he discipline himself? You go back with the Adam Lopez Blue Nose fight. He opened up because he fought off of being dazed, which is if you bite the dog's going to attack you immediately. He doesn't even look to see if it's his master. He's just going to attack, right? And that's what Oscar does. He gets hurt, and his tendency is to attack you back. And that's where he's got to be smart, So I think whatever they're learning and whatever they're working, I think it's going to work for a while. But I think that it's going to revert for Oscar to fall back to who he is, which is being a dogfight. And that's going to be Miguel's, territory. That's his area of expertise, is for you to want to get into that dogfight. He did it with Francisco Rodriguez, But I think that what Oscar can do to slow down Miguel's onslaughts is to work that body. I think that Oscar needs to work that body. I also think he needs that jab. I think he needs to establish a jab immediately, because if you go watch any of the fights with Miguel Berchelt, that the jab actually makes them reset. Anytime you get a pressure fighter, if you jab them, they always have to reset. Once they plant their feet and they're pushed back, they have to take those 2 steps forward, reset themselves again, to throw big shots. So I think that Oscar, honestly, is going to have to be moving from left to right. Keep turning Miguel, but don't make that ring, smaller than what it is. And what I mean by that is that once Oscar starts, if he does give him angles, going left to right, don't walk backwards, okay? If you're going to go right, pivot right, okay? And circle him around so it turns Miguel. You want to turn Miguel, who's a much more flat-footed puncher, where he's got to actually pick his feet up, so there's no power. So if he does throw power, it's going to be off the heel of his legs. The toes of his legs. So there's not going to be nothing, a whole lot there. It's going to be more like arm punches and stuff. But that's a lot harder to be done than said, in my opinion. I know like some of my partners on the Leaving the Ring Familia are picking Valdez, and they think that. And I you know what? I see a strong possibility, but I also see that Valdez, it kind of weighs on Valdez a little more, okay? I think that he's got to have these moments to attack, and they got to be smart attacks, okay? Which I mean by that is Miguel at times will take a layoff. You ever notice that? Is after he pressures you, he kind of allows you to gain your bearings back, and he gives it a few, he'll take a minute off. And he'll just follow you without throwing a punch. That's when Oscar needs to attack. That's when Oscar needs to jump right on him to make Miguel, fight out of character. Make Miguel work a little harder than he's used to. Don't let him have complete, comfort in there, meaning a ring generalship. Make it his fight. Don't make it his fight. It's going to be his fight when you guys attack, but make him work for everything he throws. Let's see how conditioned he is for this fight, And the way you do that is, like I said, is by moving, making him work the legs. And then when he rests, you attack him and you work that body. Anytime Valdez gets in there, he's going to have to work that body. And he's going to have to use that jab. In my opinion, he can't get wide with his shots at all. Everything's going to have to come off that elbow, and everything's going to have to be short. Because when Berchelt attacks him, he's got to be right there in that pocket, and he's going to have to shoot right down that middle. Forget about wide shots and everything else. Just work right down that middle. And I could see Berchelt getting clipped a lot from those punches, And sometimes those shorter punches are the ones that are a little bit more hurtful than those wide punches, because Berchelt's going to see a lot of those wide shots that Oscar throws, at an amount of times that he's done throughout his career, And I think that's what they're hoping for. Like I said, Miguel, I believe what they're hoping is that Oscar walks himself back, Oscar opens up, Oscar fights off of feelings, doesn't fight smart, and they're going to able to break him down gradually down the rounds, and then have, I would say, a late stoppage between like 9th or 10th. That's what they're hoping for. Oscar's side team, I don't know if they're thinking, let's take the fight to him. Let's see how strong he is. I don't think that's a great idea, and I don't think that they're thinking that's the greatest idea to do. I think that what they're going to want to do is use the whole four corners of the ring, okay? What they also going to want to do is use that jab and point out everything else that I pointed out is what they should do. What they should do. But what I've seen lately, he doesn't do that. So it's really hard for me to believe that he's going to come with this new plan. It's not like it can't be done. It's happened before. We've seen fighters fight one way and then they come back and it's the fight of their life. They come out and they fight a different way. Come to mind right now, Marcos Antonio Barrera when he fought Prince Nassim Hamed. Nobody thought that Barrera would be able to box strategically against Prince Nassim Hamed, and he did. Can't say that Oscar can't do that, but I haven't seen Oscar do any of that. No glimpse, And the pressure fighter that he did face, Mariarga, he went out there and he backed up Oscar, and it was a tough fight for him. When he got in there with the lesser puncher, Blue Nose Lopez, and it was a firefight, Lopez at sometimes was getting the better of the two. I don't see Valdez wanting to get the better of the two against Miguel Berchelt, who's a bigger puncher. I think he needs to fight smart in this fight. I think he needs to be on his toes. I think he needs to, be selective in his attacks. He needs to look for the pockets to attack Miguel Berchelt, which is when he rests and he takes off a minute off of a round. That's when he needs to execute, and he needs to execute with that jab. The jab, to me, is where he needs to build up points. What's my pick, guys? Well, I'm going to go with Miguel Berchelt. I just think that Miguel is just going to be too much. He's going to come forward. He's going to make Oscar overfight on some positions. He's going to make Oscar trap himself. He's going to make Oscar open up shots where they're wide, and Berchelt's just going to be there first with his punches. So I see a late stoppage honestly, I think in the 10th round, I think that Miguel can get the job done. That's my pick. Tell me what you guys are picks on here on the there is a ring difference, and yeah, Berchelt 71.5 and Valdez 6'6", and reach big difference. But it's not a big difference if Miguel doesn't use it. That's one thing you got to point out. Like, Miguel doesn't really use his reach because he likes to walk you down. He's a pressure fighter, so he does like to get that phone booth style. So I'm not too worried about that. You know, I think that 6'6" reach for Valdez can work for him as a jab, just because the fact that I could see that Miguel is not going to use an effective jab. His jab is more of like a range finder, in my opinion. Okay, he looks for the distance. He tries to work out your kinks in what you do, and then he attacks and stuff. There's not so many faces for Miguel Berchelt's style. He's like, there's two faces of him, and I think that's how he's going to execute it. It's just, like I said, it's a little harder to do it than to say it. And I think that Valdez has all the tools in the world. I think he does. I really like Valdez. I like Oscar. I think Oscar's a very, very talented fighter, but I think he's got to be in top shape and have a grade A game plan against Miguel Berchelt, in my opinion. Okay, so that was my pick. That was my pick between the two. If you guys want to throw in your pick and let me know here in the chat room, I'll definitely throw that up there. I'm really excited about this fight, man. It's been a long time where I'm like, damn, this is going to be a hell of a good fight, Honestly, I can tell you, I really don't care who wins this fight. I just want fireworks. I want to be able to lose my voice on Saturday night from screaming my head off and acting a damn fool. And, we deserve it. Think about it. We've been on lockdown practically all through 2020. Fighters jerking us left and right, talking about cross the street or more money in my purse or et cetera, et cetera. We deserve a fight where two guys are going to go out there and just leave it in the ring. That's what I'm hoping for, and I think that's what we should expect from these two guys. I think that's what they're going to deliver. It's going to be signed and delivered by these two guys. I could see it easily in the beginning of these rounds. Both guys are like, filling each other out. But I don't think it's going to be like 2 or 3 rounds in where they're filling each other out. I think within that second round, bang, we're going to have an explosion between the two. J-Rod says, I still got Valdez, but fans are the real winners if it becomes a historical war. I absolutely agree, brother. I definitely agree. So let me see. What do we got here? What was that? What was the topics? I don't even remember the topics I wanted to throw up on here. Oh, I'll go off first, man. Haney and Devin Haney and oh man, I put Lopez. I don't know why I put Lopez. It was supposed to be Linares. They're talking about fighting in April. Jorge Linares, put out there on Twitter to Devin Haney, let's make it happen. And there's rumors that they are sitting down trying to make negotiations between the two to fight, which I think is a great step up. A very tough fight to go up against Jorge Linares. It's about as tough as when Ryan Garcia decided to go up there against Campbell. I like the fight. I don't know what you guys think about it. I love this fight. I think it's a great fight for Devin Haney. I think it erases a lot of the questions that we have for him. It definitely puts him up there in terms of the criticism that we've had in the past about him, about not facing anybody, like getting an old Gamboa. You haven't really fought anybody. Jorge Linares is a name. And that's a hell of a name to have on your resume if you can get past him. Okay? How much is left in Jorge Linares? We don't know. I think there's a lot left in Jorge Linares, to tell you the truth. I mean, look how much he was giving Lomachenko problems in that fight when they had that fight. Okay, I mean, he dropped and hurt not once but twice, or I think even 3 times. Lomachenko. So Devin Haney, this is definitely a major step up, and also it answers whether or not is Devin Haney the real deal, or is he just all talent against B-level guys or over the hill guys? You know, is he just that, phenomenal looking against those guys, and he's just going to look like an average Joe against a Jorge Linares? I agree with you, Ron. That's a tough one for Haney. Linares is a pretty big 135. He also can box. He can move. He can punch. His chin, it's not the greatest. Doesn't have the greatest resistance in his chin. He has been knocked out. But if you look at the guys that have knocked him out, just look at the names. It's enough said there. Where Devin, we don't really know a whole lot about Devin. What we've seen, we know, but we don't know the unknown because he hasn't stepped it up to fight the top guys. And Jorge Linares is definitely a top guy. You can't say that Jorge Linares is not a top guy at all. A-Rod says, good fight, but people are already saying Linares is washed up. Linares is going to put Devin to the test. I said this a long time ago. I said, if I listen to social media, if social media was around back when Mickey Ward and Arturo Gatti fought, or Barrera versus Morales, they all would have been saying the same thing. When Diego Corrales was stepping in with Jose Luis Castillo, I remember my close-knit of friends were like, I don't want to watch that fight, bro. Both these guys already lost. They're over the hill. Jose Luis Castillo's not going to make a good fight. And I was like, this is going to be a great fight. And what did we end up getting? Out of all those fights we just mentioned, what did we end up getting? Phenomenal fights. A lot of people always think that it's the AA level guys. They're going to give us the greatest fights, right? It's always like, oh, these guys, this pay-per-view event, it normally doesn't turn out that way. It's always another guy fighting back for his position or fighting for that position. And Jorge Linares obviously is fighting to get back in that position. I wouldn't call him washed up. He didn't look washed up fighting Lomachenko. And what was said about him stepping in with Lomachenko? They said the same exact thing. This guy's over the hill. This guy can't take a punch. He's going to get knocked out in the first round. And it didn't even happen. He actually started hurting Lomachenko and hurt Lomachenko where he had to step on the gas to get that win. So, and Devin Haney's not a world beater either. If that was the case, what happened with Gamboa? He couldn't really do much with Gamboa. I mean, that fight was really hard for him. I mean, here's funny. If Jorge Linares is a washed-up fighter, which Gamboa was, and gave Devin Haney a lot of problems, then what is Jorge Linares going to do? Who actually has two good legs, not one. That's why sometimes I don't even listen to the so-called fans that are on social media or even that do podcasts or YouTube. Don't bother listening to it because boxing is the unknown. That's why we watch the sport. Yep. Yayo Thompson, who I had after he had knocked out Linares, had him on leaving the ring. Was a great talk. Yep, back then Ryan wouldn't have been talked about as much. No, he wouldn't have been. But do you imagine how many people would have shitted on fights? Like Paulie Ayala versus Bone Adams. That was a great fight. You know, Johnny Tapia versus Paulie Ayala. You know, I remember people were like, Paulie Ayala, I mean, what's this guy done? Blah, blah, blah. And look, we ended up getting great fights. You know, I mean, look, even the Errol Spence and Sean Porter, you guys remember that? Everybody's like, that's going to be a shitty fight. Errol Spence is going to walk right through him. And it ended up being a hell of a fight. Then a majority of folks think that Sean Porter won that fight. That he should have gotten that fight. Should have gotten that win. Sometimes there's truth to some fights where like that fight shouldn't happen. Shouldn't happen. But then there's other times where like, look at the Laura fight with Warrington. How many people were tweeting and putting out there like this fight shouldn't happen. This is a shitty fight. Warrington's going to walk right through this dude. It didn't happen. Did not happen. Andy Ruiz gets a shot at the title against AJ for all the bouts that he was holding, and same thing was being said. Same thing. You know, sometimes I just go, dude, let's just see it happen. What's the worst that's going to happen? Devin Haney shows up and knocks out Jorge Linares, and that's it. It's over. It's a great name on his resume. He needs these names on his resume to tell you the truth. He's looking to fight at fights to get in with Teofimo Lopez, Lomachenko, Ryan Garcia. He needs some leverage. Yoarkis Gamboa is not that leverage, guys. He's not the leverage there to put at the negotiating table and say, look what I got. Look what I've done. Ryan Garcia right now could say, I beat an Olympian. One of the top 5 guys. A guy that went the distance with Lomachenko. Jorge Linares. I knocked him out. Nobody knocked him out. I knocked him out. You couldn't even knock out Gamboa. Ryan Garcia has, you know, leverage with that. He's a step above that. So that's where Devin Haney, in my opinion, that's what he needs. He needs a Jorge Linares on his resume, and he needs to be impressive. But just get that win. First, let's get the fight. Then let's work to get that win. That's what I think. You know, that needs to happen. You know? I don't know why. I mean, then if not Jorge Linares, then who else? Who else does he go after? Who else is a good name for him to go, oh, let me get this guy? You're not going to get Ryan Garcia. That's not going to happen. I don't see Lomachenko. I don't see that happening. You know? You're not going to get Lopez. Not at this moment. So to me, I think the obvious is Jorge Linares, which he's on the zone as well. He's with Golden Boy. That fight should happen next. I think it's the easiest fight to be made next, right? Fortuna. That'd be a great fight. That's another great name on his resume if he could get the win. And I keep saying if because the fact of the matter is we don't know. That's why we want to watch these fights. You know? I mean, I don't watch fight. I always trip out where I see guys go like, oh man, he'll knock him out. He'll beat him really quick. I always tripped out on vatos like that because I'm like, why do you watch the fights? If you already know, like if you could foresee the shit, you know, a mile away, if you could tunnel through the future and you already know all this stuff is happening, then why are you bothering watching this sport? Right? See, I watch it, even if it's a shitty fight, even when I'm like, man, it might not be a good fight. But I want to watch it because I don't want to be the pendejo that missed it. I've done that before. Julio Cesar Chavez Sr. gets in with Frankie Randall, the surgeon. Rest in peace, brother. I remember being the pendejo that goes, he's going to fuck homeboy up and that's it. And then, big deal. I opt out to do, which I never ever did again. Never made that mistake again. I opt out of not watching the fight and going out with the homies. Next morning, I hear through the grapevine, Julio lost the fight. He even got dropped. And I was like, what? No. man, I was so pissed off at myself because you remember this, they didn't do replays back then. You had to wait. Or you had to go down to your dealer. I had my VHS dealer. I used to pay $10 for the fight after so that I could put in my VHS and watch. So I had to watch it after. And it ate me because I had to watch it knowing already the outcome. Where I could have been there in the moment. Been there in the moment. And that's why we watch the fights. That's why I watch the fights. That's why I sit and try to watch every fight possible, which is, kind of impossible because now we're so saturated with fights. It's we get like 3 fights happening all at one time from 3 different networks, partnering each other and stuff. Hey, Ross said, I remember having that attitude with Fernando Vargas versus Trinidad, and I said, nah, Trinidad's so fast. Even De La Hoya fight, and they were good fights. They were great fights. Like I said, did not make that mistake again. I didn't. Same thing when everybody was like, dude, Diego Corrales, it's not going to be good. It's not going to be good. I had just moved here to Modesto, California. I've talked about this. I've said this story a million times here on Leaving the Ring. Just moved here to Modesto, California. Had this freaking small Tia television. Bought my house here. Wasn't even furnished yet, but I wanted to make sure. The one thing I needed was cable in the house. And I had this small little TV, and I was sitting on a milk crate watching the fight. Me and the wife. So I'm like, I'm not missing this. I am not missing this. Miguel Cotto, when he fought Antonio Margarito, won. Had it on my big screen. The power went out. The only power that was in the house, because there was a shortage or some shit. So it was in my kids' room. My poor kids. They were watching Nickelodeon or whatever, Disney. Threw them off and put the fight on there and watched it off their little screen TV. Not missing a fight. At all. Ron said, I missed Look Away for a second and missed Sergi's KO of that Martinez of Paul Williams and missed John Melia's comeback against Mickey Bay on Showbox years later. Shaking. Oh, I know. I remember that. Those were great fights. Gora put I had a VHS dealer too, bro. Sometimes had to wait a month for the fight to arrive. Bro, I used to have to drive. Okay, now rest in peace because this was my boxing brother, Butch, Bill Collins Butch, really good homeboy of mine. It was the reason why I started getting on YouTube and talking boxing. Was when I used to travel, commute. My homeboy was the only boxing head that I knew that actually would watch every fight, and he was my dealer. Okay, and I used to literally travel 2 hours to his house because he lived in the Bay to pick up my fights from him, and that's how I saw like Abraham versus Miranda, because remember it wasn't televised in the U.S. A lot of fights. Edwin Balladio's fights, they weren't televised here in the U.S. That's how I got my fights, So those were the good old days, man. I believe he is, dude. I believe he's still working. Yeah, actually he is. He is at Snack because the email that was sent to me was from his PR, who is the publicist for Snack as well. So a lot of times if it's sent from him, that fighter normally has a deal with Snack and Invictor Conte, which is in San Carlos, California. I was lucky, bro. We're saying right here the quality was bad. I was actually really lucky. My boy was really, really good of finding the good the good takes and stuff. And he was if that was one thing, he always made sure like he got me top quality, because I remember I won like Thomas Hearns versus Marvin and Hagler, and everybody that I would get it from had really shitty quality. They had that snow static and stuff, and he got me like crystal clear. Same thing with all like Salvador Sanchez fights. He got them all like just clear freaking picture. And this guy used to get, I still have a lot of the fights that he, I'm not getting. I remember when we moved into this new house, my wife's all like, you gotta start getting rid of all this stuff. And I actually was gonna just dump it all. But then, dude, I was sitting there looking at this stuff, and I'm like, I can't throw this shit away. It's like burying one of my best friends right there. And I'm also thinking, like, I got a lot of Olympian fighters, the Olympic fights I recorded, a lot of sparring. I mean, a lot of stuff, a lot of fighters. Roy Jones Jr. sparring at the Kronk Gym. One of these days I'll upload it and put it on YouTube. But I mean, I got like thousands of sparring sessions that I bought over the years. What's up, IBT? How you doing, brother? So let's get down to the next topic, man, here. We already did our picks here on the Leaving the Ring. Okay, so Teofimo Lopez, he went on ESPN, right? And I talked about this a little earlier, if you're late. I was like, look, I'm happy for the kid. You know, he's playing smart. And he's now, you know, doing what every other fighter that's reached the top of the hill, he's saying, hey, look, I know my value. And this is my value. And if you can't meet my value, I'm going to go to another home. It's nothing personal. It's all business, okay? And Bob is hearing that. Bob's understanding that, okay? So what Bob is now doing is saying, look, the Josh Taylor and Jose Ramirez fight, that should be happening this year. The winner of that fight, Teofimo Lopez gets. That means he would have to move up to 140, okay? I like the fight if he does that, and then I don't like the fight. And the reason why is because it's, to me, it kind of feels like what Mikey Garcia did was leave the lightweight division when it was stacked and there was so much there he could have accomplished and do that, in a way, that's what Teofimo Lopez would be doing now. We're looking at money. I would understand that. I know, bro. I'm not throwing it away. I kept it. So I went and bought a storage and I put everything in there. Like I said, that's why I was thinking, well, I got like DVDs too. I mean, and look, when I say I got a bunch of VHS and DVDs, like, you see all the magazines in the background? That's like a little small little tote of magazines. I got like totes and totes of magazines. So I bought a storage and I filled it all up, you know, and I'm an addict, you know, when it comes to buying memorabilia, to doing stuff. I mean, now I don't even record fights because we can get it on YouTube, so there's no reason to do it. But in those times, like I said, remember, like, we didn't get an hour later replay, the next day replay. You didn't get any of that on ESPN. If the fight happened and you missed it, you missed it. So we would record everything and made sure, put it on a time setter, and I would kick myself in the ass if the time setter didn't work. You know how many VCRs I went through from like banging them because I was pissed off they didn't record them? Too many of them. And historically, so important to preserve those types of fights and footage. Oh, I know, man. Like I said, I'm gonna go through all of them, and I'll start like releasing a bunch of them that I got. You know, I just got to start going through them and stuff. And actually, I was going through that phase for a while where I was transitioning them from VHS to DVD. You know, so I got to keep doing that, man. Got to keep doing that. So going back with Teofimo Lopez. Okay, so now Bob Arum hears him. Says, "Hey, okay," and starts making the suggestion of kind of like, I would have to say it's like he's dangling it over his head. Like, look, here's a big fight over here, okay? I get it. He's got to go where the money's at. It's due time. Remember what I said, deserve doesn't belong in the sport of boxing. The word deserve, it just doesn't belong there. Earn. This kid has earned the right to start making bigger money. This kid has earned the right to start being pushed as a superstar and being pushed into the millions of homes that ESPN has. This kid earns that right and should be getting those rights, okay? I just would hate to see him leave that division and move up to the junior welterweight division when there's so much left to do at lightweight. I still want to see the Lomachenko rematch, guys. I don't know about you guys. I definitely want to see it because to me, it wasn't like a complete blowout, all right? It was competitive. Lopez definitely showed he was a stronger, more athletic, and more intelligent fighter between the two. Lomachenko started coming on later in those rounds, right? So I don't see what the issue would be. Money is the issue. I mean, if we're going to be frank about it, money is definitely the issue. And money, like any of these fights, it's the issue. They're called prize fighters for a reason, right? But I'd like to see, him get in with Devin Haney. I'd like to see a Ryan Garcia. Bob Arum has flirted with that a little bit, saying like that's the next fight I'd love to make happen. But he's seizing the moment right now. Teofimo Lopez seizing that moment right now, seeing that he is the golden goose at the moment. And saying, hey, you're the promoter. Do your job. Entice me. Get my juices going. Get me excited. And to tell you the truth, that's a big money fight there. If he's able, as the unified lightweight champion, able to fight the unified junior welterweight champion, that's a great fight. That's a great storyline. To get those two, to mix it up. Now, it doesn't mean he can't move back down, or it doesn't mean that these guys can't move up. But I think it's always great to see a unified champion clean out a division that still is work to be done. Because it can always be said, well, you didn't really face this guy or that guy. There are fights there to be made. Now, if there was only one guy in that division, I wouldn't be so. I can't say I'm being critical about it. I just think that there's great fights there. Run says I want to see Tio rematch Loma and then fight Haney to see if there's no question about undisputed. That's what I mean. See, there's unfinished business there. So why not take care of that business? Well, I know why not. It's the money factor. Well, if the zone really wants that fight, they should step up and say, "Hey, we'll put up a big bid for the fight. We'll buy that fight." If Bob is not willing to budge and Bob wants to keep him at his minimums, like Lopez said, "Hey, I'm willing to turn my chair around and listen to the other guys and see what they have to offer," which he has that right to do. Immortal says, Bob Arum not pushing Teofimo like he should be, in my opinion. I agree with you, man. I'm on board on that. I don't think he is. I definitely don't think he is. He had me cracking up on that ESPN, interview. I saw that he had, what's that journalist's name on ESPN? God, I can't even think of his name. I know his name too. He had him a bit frustrated, charismatic. He's slick talking, power punching, exciting, young Latino boxer. What the hell? What more can you ask for in terms of marketing? I've said that before. Like, what, he should be easy to market to the hip hop, heads. He's got that street value to him and his pops, The one thing about like Angel Garcia and Danny Garcia was Angel did all the talking and Danny just sat back and listened. Where Teofimo Lopez and Senior, they're like twins. They can actually probably finish each other's sentences. You know what I'm saying? They're an actual package deal. Mark Kriegel, for the life of me, I couldn't remember his name. Do you think he isn't pushing Tio because he cannot collect a live gate right now or other reasons? I think that has to do with a lot of why these fights are not happening. I know, like Terrence Crawford, Errol Spence Jr. I think that has a lot of issues, especially because the dollar value amount that they're asking for. Okay, it definitely hurt Canelo. Why he opted breaking out of his contract with Golden Boy and DAZN. The live gate. I mean, where are they going to get these kind of purses that the other opponent is asking for? or the marquee opponent. Teofimo Lopez asking for X amount of money, but Bob Arum being a stickler about the minimum. The minimums of what he's signed on, what Teofimo Lopez's team signed to, right? But I think that has a big issue, with it, And I've talked to some promoters. I'm going to get a promoter on, actually. Not a marquee promoter, but a promoter that's worked with Al Heyman and Oscar De La Hoya. The guy's been around the block. We're just trying to work out the time because he is in Mexico. He's promoting his fights out there right now, and he'll give us a little bit much of a better sense of how the business is really worked. And then he'll give you guys a chance to ask him as many questions as you guys want about the business side. So look forward to that, man. I'm working to get that done probably next week. Get him on and pick his brain a little bit. I've had him. I've never had him on the podcast, but I've sat across him and we've talked promoter business. And he's told me, this guy was doing, I don't know if you remember Solo Boxeo with Jorge Moreno. He was doing all of those small cards with them. And like I say, he's worked with, Al Heyman. He's worked with Golden Boy. This guy's been around the block for quite some time. He was actually one of the key guys of helping out discovering Ryan Garcia. Really knowledgeable guy. Really, really knowledgeable. And he's an open book. So he should be really interesting. So I definitely want to see. I'm hoping when we get him on, we can get a lot of these. He can explain it a lot better. Not Mortal says, not to excuse, not to push the field. You want all the momentum you can get. Of course. Yeah. I saw Tio and his dad do a cool breakdance battle on Twitter last week. Oh, man, send me that, bro. Send me that on my handle. I got to check that out. I mean, they're characters. I think those guys, give them a mic, and I guarantee you they could keep you entertained. I mean, the same thing with Deontay Wilder. Move past the fact about the whole conspiracy thing and all that. Charismatic. He's quick-witted. He knows how to formulate a good sentence. He knows how to get you. He definitely knows how to grab your attention. You can't not admit that. He's hell of entertaining in his press conferences. That's why Adrian Broner. Everybody always goes how's this guy keep making a comeback? And how does he keep getting these fights? His mouthpiece. These guys have become our Hector Camachos and Prince Nassim Hameds of this era. Their mouthpiece is what keeps them in there. Keeps them, wanting to see what happened next. I mean, this kid Ryan Garcia too. He's not the slickest talker, but he says some really cringy stuff, but it's enough to make you go okay. And I don't know about you guys, but I call him the 69 Tekashi of boxing, because he knows where to inject himself, to get people talking about him, to get people to hate on him. I mean, it took me a while to warm up to the kid, I gotta admit to you, but after beating Campbell, I did say I'm gonna give him his props, and I gave him his props. His tactics, his way of going about things, do I agree with it? Not necessarily. Bringing out the Bible, I mean, I was oh, come on, bro, let's not do that. Let's not pretend. Right? And I like Teofimo Lopez because I don't think there's no lie in the kid. Like Antonio Montana, there's no lie in me, man. I get that vibe off of Teofimo Lopez. That's what I get from Teofimo Lopez, And I think the problem is you can't take nothing away from Bob Arum. This guy knows how to promote fighters. This guy's been in the fight game, 70 plus, 60. I mean, how many freaking years, right? So we can't say he doesn't know what he's doing. He knows what he's doing. But I could say we can't believe he's outdated though on some things where he's gonna fall short. For instance, I can't talk about the hip hop that happens now these days. I have no connection with it. right? I don't relate to the new trends that kids do nowadays. Not in a million years that I ever thought I was ever going to call some kid, and really mean it. Or son, hey son, hey, hey son, can you turn that shit down? Never in a million years that I ever thought I was going to tell Mike's sons, dude, turn that stuff down, please. That's just trash music. You want to hear some good music? I always tell them now. Like, I put on some Wu-Tang, some Biggie, Eric B. Never in a million. So I know my lane. I think that's where Bob, man, he needs to venture out and stay the promoter, but I think he needs a great marketing team. That was my biggest criticism of Al Heyman and the PBC. I was like, why are they not? They have all the platforms. They got all the hedge funds. Why are they not doing this? Why don't they have? Really, why don't they have a marketing team? Before Tim Smith was signed on with them, they had nobody PRing their fighters. Nobody. Where Top Rank and Golden Boy did. If you were a smaller promoter, I understood that. If you were like Lou DiBella or Main Event, they all do that in-house. But if you have the money and the funds to get the right marketing team, why not use it? Why not go out there? You know how many young, hungry YouTubers, Gooseman Tudor, remember Gooseman Tudor? They were using kids from YouTube. When we started the whole YouTube thing back in 2007, I think, I don't even remember how, it's so freaking long, man. I'm a dinosaur in this stuff here. But in 2008, 2009, even in 2010, they were using YouTube graphic kids to be part of their team so they can make promo videos to upcoming fights that they were having. And it was awesome. It was phenomenal. Top Rank was actually even kind of walking into that as well too. They did that. This is boxing. I don't know if you guys go back that far, but there was a trend called This is Boxing that they were doing, and it was a great trend. Between Ryan Garcia and Devin Haney, who do you think will have a better career when it's said and done? I think it's too early in the game to even say, Run. I can't say, to tell you the truth. It's really hard to say. I think skill-wise, right now, I have to give Devin Haney more of the thumbs up. And I know what folks are going to say, well, who's he fought? I know that. But visually, you got to admit, he is a gifted kid. Where Ryan Garcia still has a lot of amateur traits about him, flaws that are going to cost him if he doesn't improve. And Eddie Reynoso and them, thank you, Blood, for reminding me. 2007, my boy Blood. And going back with Ryan Garcia, Ryan, Eddie Reynoso's, going with Eddie Reynoso, he's got a lot of work, man. I just got to be straight up about that. There's a lot of work to be laid down with Ryan Garcia, a lot of ground to cover for him. So I don't know who can go longevity, who's going to last longer. Devin Haney obviously is getting a new trainer. I saw that some folks were thinking it was good or bad. It could be vice versa. I mean, I don't think there's going to be much that people are going to be able, a new trainer is going to be able to add to Devin Haney, except maybe make him think clearer in the ring, see things that he's not seeing during the fight, because that's what it comes down to. I think Devin Haney has a better idea. I think both of them have a good idea of who they are. Ryan Garcia is a puncher with speed. I don't think he looks at himself yet as a boxer puncher. And Devin Haney sees himself as a skilled technician. But where they're going, I don't know, man. That's why I want to see him fight. That's why I want to see where Devin Haney's going to be at against Jorge Linares. I remember the Goose and Tudor channel. They did pre and post fight interviews with their fighters too. They did. They absolutely did. I had a great time with them going to the fights and interviewing their fighters and being able to have the pleasure to actually speak to Joe Goosen and everybody else, the whole Goosen family, to tell you the truth. Aaron was born in 1931 before TVs were even in homes. He's from a long gone era. It's true. But I mean, The Godfather, I mean, again, I think business-wise, he's on point. Like signing contracts to fighters and knowing how to fudge numbers and how to maneuver them. You can't argue with that. I think that he knows the game in and out more than anybody else, you know? Just like Al Heyman. I mean, Al Heyman's a number guy. You're not going to outsmart two guys that made their career off numbers. They don't get where they're at without knowing numbers, you know? But sometimes, you know, what I mean about Bob is like sometimes, or even like Al Heyman, you can't cover every ground of your company. You're going to need to outsource or in-house somebody to take care of the other little stuff. And the times have really have changed, you know, where Bob was promoting Floyd Mayweather and Oscar De La Hoya, you know, those guys, you know. Bob's got to look at how people now are, how they interact with the sport, you know. And not to say that, you know, here's the thing too, is boxing has always been ahead of the curve of anybody. I mean, think about this. YouTubing, we were YouTubing way before any other sport, okay? I didn't see anybody talking basketball, baseball, football, anything like that. It was boxing. I mean, MMA guys were not even talking their sport on YouTube, okay? Podcasting, getting kids from YouTube editors and bringing them on and doing all this stuff, streaming fights, putting them on apps, putting it on Facebook. Boxing was ahead of the curve of that. They were doing those type of things, you know. Boxing promoters were looking to bring in other ideas. What it stops a lot of people from actually going from A to B. Any plan of marketing is money, and it's greediness. That's why I always talk about the cookie jar. You know, why doesn't the sport of boxing get fixed? Because the people that are involved in the sport don't want it fixed. When we get that promoter on, I'm going to probably suck him into that conversation so that people can get a better idea. Because I've talked about this where the game is really set up to financially crush small promoters trying to do a real job for their fighters, and financially crush people that are trying to help fighters. And what I mean by that is, like, for a standard small card, you're looking at 60 grand. The commission will handpick your judges and ref. And that goes off of where they're coming from, the amount of money you have to pay. Okay? I'll give you a perfect example in San Francisco when Golden Boy was subbing out to small promoters to try to promote in San Francisco. They didn't even get, the commission didn't even hire local judges and refs to be there. They hired everybody from Nevada, which cost the small promoter a bigger fee to pay. So, you know what I mean? Like, they didn't even want to try to cut costs for them so they can actually direct their money with other things like in marketing. They cut their legs off, you know? And small promoters they have to fit the bill on paramedics, standbys, doctors. None of that even comes into part of the package of promoting. 60 grand is like a minimum of what you would need for a card. And that's why you get sometimes some cards are just really trash because there's no money in it, you know. The Block Talk Radio days, yes, brother. You know, And I even tried. If you follow Leaving the Ring, I mean, I would actually used to take Blog Talk with us to go to a gym and talk to fighters and get in depth with fighters. Alfonso Gomez got in real in depth about how fighters are sometimes treated, how they're shortchanged. They're basically told sometimes this is what you're going to do and that's it. There's no ifs and no ands. So when you hear Teofimo Lopez say, hey, it's nothing personal, it's business. It's not like he just came up with that. It's because he's been told that before. And what the kid did was wait for his time and his moment to now throw back the phrase that had been told to him and his family, his team, for so many years of being in the part of the Hurt Game. You know? And I've spoken to a lot of fighters. They could, you know, go back in interviews. I don't know how many. I've done over 100, probably more than 100. And Antonio Diaz, remember Antonio Diaz from Coachella? He was on Leaving the Ring, and he talked about how he didn't have a choice to fight Sugar Shane Mosley. He was just told, this is who you're going to fight next, and that's it. It's settled. No ifs, no ands. They don't even give you the opportunity to go like, well, wait, hold on. I don't think I'm ready for him. Too bad. Too bad, so sad. You're going to do it. So when I see people get upset that Teofimo Lopez is playing the card that he is dealing out, not what he's dealt with, but what he's dealing out, to me, it's kind of refreshing to hear that. Not as a fan, because I'm like, fuck, bro, I want to see these fights. I want to see these fights, you know? How is it that Devin Haney, Ryan Garcia, Gervonta Davis, and Teofimo Lopez, that Lopez is number one in the resume, but last place in money? Shame. Well, I agree with you, Immortal. I agree with you. I think the only comparisons of how you can make, like in terms of boxing with any other business, is music business. You know, you see guys like kids with really real talent versus some kid that doesn't have any talent. It's who you know. It's not what you could bring. It's really who you know in the boxing world. Who's your manager, and what can your manager do for you? What is your team going to do for you? You know? And the promoters too, you know, do they like you? Look at Sergio Martinez. Sergio Martinez had the whole package, but HBO couldn't stand him. HBO literally, when people go like, are there still fixed fights? You think that there's corruption? Yes, absolutely. It's just played out a different way. Look what how HBO tried to get Sergio Martinez knocked off and get that title taken away from him. Hey, Dave, do you think, sorry, man. Do you think the old episodes with Victor Conte will be available again? They are available. They're still up there on Blog Talk. I still have them up there, and I also have them on YouTube. Every one of our interviews I've ever done about PEDs are still up there. You know, actually, I'm compiling a bunch of the interviews together to walk people through the PED era of when we were, when the stories were being broke by my ex-co-host Gabriel Montoya, and then we were getting the fighters on immediately, like either the same week or the same month. Larry O, he had a really weird last name. He's from the UK heavyweight. I don't know if you guys remember him. Remember, he was popped with so much PD in his body, and he was actually pharmacying his own PEDs, and he came on the show and explained how he was doing it before he had been popped by the UK, which I got to give the UK way more thumbs up than anybody else. USADA was not doing the job. The UK banned Larry. And then like in 2012, I had Sugar Shane Mosley on talking about the Balco and PED usage, finally admitting to it, you know. That ended up actually on Lazy Guy. Don't tell me it's the same lazy homeboy, man, from back in the days, bro. If it is, man, I'm glad to see you on here, bro. That's a long time face I haven't seen, brother. Going back with Mosley, but yeah, then 2012 we had Conte. This is all in 2012, to tell you too. Margaret Goodman was on in 2012. Before that, we had Alex Ariza. I asked Alex Ariza, what's in the shake, Alex, when he was training Manny Pacquiao. And then Victor Conte came on and called him a drug dealer. Yeah, I mean, Andre Berto, Lamont Peterson, Mickey Bay, Brandon Rios, Robert Garcia, all of them, after they got popped, had them on Leaving the Ring. So put them all together. Man, it's great to see you on here, man. Great. I ended up talking to Strike Hard. I don't know if you guys go that far back with me on Leaving the Ring. Strike Hard was one of the originals, and Strike Hard reached out on me on Twitter. I'm going to get him on. And we could actually reminisce on some of the episodes, like when we had Marvelous Marvin Hagler, Johnny Tapia, Hector Camacho. When Hector Camacho was on, buzzing hella hard, and he was like trying to find his girlfriend, I think it was, or his wife at that time. And he kept us on the line. Yeah, man. Well, it's getting late, guys. Holy shit. It's really, really, really late. I wasn't actually planning on staying this late, but once I get going, you can't shut me up, especially when it comes to boxing and stuff. I actually make everybody cringe back in the days in the 90s, you know, because that was the only thing that I wanted to talk about. Some folks wanted to talk about work. Some folks wanted to talk about football. Some folks wanted to talk about the man on the moon. I only wanted to talk about boxing. That's the only reason why I started getting on YouTube and doing a podcast, is because I want to talk to other boxing heads. Like I've said before, I don't know everything. I always learn something new because I'm circled around hardcore boxing fans, and I love it. It's the only place that I want to be, you know. It is late now. Let's see. I remember Starcraft and his intro with the pistol. That was great, dude. We actually talked about that when he came in with his suitcase, and then he would put his suitcase down. Strike hasn't missed the beat. It was great. As soon as we, when he called me, and we just picked off where we left off. So I'm definitely looking forward to getting Strike Hart back on Talk Boxing. If it's not boxing, I don't care, So yeah, man, that was awesome and stuff. Okay, guys, I'm going to get going. Hey, thanks for coming on, and thanks to you, as always, supporting Leaving the Ring. Don't forget, we are on Monday nights. We weren't this weekend, but don't forget HCP, Hispanics Causing Panic, on Tuesday night. And then Wednesday night is the Censored Show. Thursday night is the Roundtable. And then my quick takes are on Tuesday. I'm probably going to end up doing one. I'm probably going to end up doing a weekend show, to tell you the truth, guys. If I can get that interview with that promoter, I'll probably do it this weekend if I can get it in, okay? Anyways, you guys have a great night, and be careful. Don't drink and drive, because you will spill your beer.
Ladies and gentlemen, damas y caballeros,